Okay, so this is a quick recap of the trades. So with every trade that I take, it has to have a reason for why I would do a counter versus pro trend. So I woke up on the charts and basically it looked like this. So clearly we're in a downtrend. We have tapped into this demand though. And so I was interested to see whether or not I could get into some sort of buy. So when I went into the 15-minute, the first thing I noticed here was that price looked like this. So this high has been taken. Now, what we have to also understand is that this sell to buy is supply, okay? So we're caught in between two, like a demand down here. We're caught between a supply and a demand down here. Now, the reason I lost the first trade is I failed to do a little bit deeper analysis. So when I went to the 15-minute, I looked at this as being the order block and that the fair value gap was filled. What I didn't realize at that moment was that there's actually the fair value gap had not been filled. And so that's why this trade ended up losing. So if we go into the 15-second, when I took this trade, you can see here that this is my 15-minute break of structure above that previous 15-minute high. So all I was doing is waiting for a structural change. Now again, you have this rally-based rally down here, okay, and we have a fair value gap just below it. All right, so this is kind of my refined zone for taking a trade off of for a buy. So when price tapped into that zone, I needed to start breaking structure, right? I needed to start breaking these demand or supplies. So we get a first supply break. Now this could have been the long right here. Could have been the long right here. And again, I was trying to target, guys, the higher supply up here. Not this supply, even though we were in, and this is also where I made the mistake, is that there's a fair value gap here and we are still inside of supply. So price ended up coming down here, broke structure again, and I got in on this tap right here, which was the break of this supply. Now this trade was actually 1 to 2R in profit, but what I failed to recognize again is we had this fair value gap. We did have a chalk, but I was married to this buy. I felt like we were in discount pricing for buying, but I didn't see this yet. Okay, and what I'll do is I'll explain what that is. So this gray box here, if we scroll all the way to the left, okay, if we scroll all the way, maybe we can't. Hold on, we're gonna go to the minute. There we go. All the way to the minute, you guys, is a little rally-based rally here, which is the completed fill of the fair value gap. Okay, and that's what price was after. And I didn't notice that. My 15-minute area looked like that. So I got in early for my structural change, which is where I took that first loss. So let's, so let's just go back here. So this first loss ended up taking me out off that fair value gap. Not a big deal. And now it tapped into, guys, here, it taps into and fills the fair value gap, okay? So now I'm looking for a change of character because we've tapped into that rally-based rally. And then I start looking for structural breaks, okay? So this is your first one, okay? And I ended up getting in the next one here. So this came in here. I got in, where did I get in? Right, something moved with my stop loss, but I got in right here. So I got in right here, you guys, off this, okay? This demand or supply breaking structure and then failing, okay? So this was my retest here, and my confluence, guys, was the fair value gap, okay? This is one of my rules that I need to see. Like, I won't take a buy counter trend unless price has reached some sort of objective, okay? And the objective in this case was that fair value gap, and then price, you know, it went up, and that was a good trade. Now, once we hit this zone here, this is the supply. So let's just look here. We have two areas, right? So this is our sell zone. Why is that our sell zone? Let's go back to the 15-minute. So this here, we have our main big supply, which is this whole order block, okay? So on the 1 hour, that's one big order block, okay? I always talk to you guys about this, the buy to sells being that took out previous demand. Now, in this case here, you guys, the sell zone had a fair value gap, okay? So if we look here, there's a fair value gap, okay? So to me, anything prior to that fair value gap doesn't make sense to sell from, okay? So in this case here, price came up to that sell zone. Okay, and now for me on the, I think it was a 30-second entry. I'm waiting for, now you could have taken this on the 1-minute entry too. You'll see here, you have your rally-based rally that took out this high. So you'd want to wait for that to fail. And then your entry, you guys, is the fill. Okay? Your entry here is the fill of this zone. Okay? There's a big fair value gap here, imbalance. Now, on the 30-second, my entry was protected by this order block, right? Drop base drop. That's why I entered here on this buy to sell, with this being, I believe, the protected order block. Now, if it came up here, I would have tried to re-enter if it did it again. But price ended up just melting from here. Now, I got out a little early, unfortunately. This thing just obviously melted for the rest of the session. But it is what it is. But guys, that's my confluence, okay? We need a reason to get into a counter, and then we just need a chalk to get into a pro-trend trade, because the sell was pro-trend. This was a bit more complicated to get into due to the fact that it's a reversal. But the pro-trend trade, guys, once it's into that supply zone, fills that fair value gap, you know, right here, boom, and it chalks, that's all the confluence I need to get into a sell there. So hope that's helpful for the break.